The most powerful man in the building stopped walking because a little girl tugged his sleeve. Her voice barely rose above a whisper, but it cut through marble, money, and authority like glass. "Sir, could you pretend to be my daddy, just for one day?" Ethan Blackwood had closed billion-dollar deals without blinking. He had watched companies collapse, competitors beg, and executives cry behind boardroom doors. But nothing had ever stopped him mid-step the way that sentence did. The lobby of Blackwood Tower gleamed with polished stone and quiet intimidation. Executives moved like clockwork. Security guards stood alert. Assistants whispered into headsets. Time here was expensive, measured in profit margins and market shares. And yet, right there near the reception desk, stood a little girl who didn't belong in any of it. She was small, too small for the oversized backpack slung over her shoulders. The zipper was broken, one strap stitched back together with red thread that didn't quite match. Her sneakers were scuffed white once, now gray, and her hair was pulled into uneven pigtails as if someone had rushed while getting her ready. She looked up at Ethan with wide, steady eyes. Not pleading. Not crying. Just hoping. Security moved instantly. "Sir, we'll take care of this." Ethan lifted one hand without looking away from her. The guards froze. "What did you say?" he asked, lowering himself to one knee so they were eye to eye. The girl swallowed. Her fingers twisted the loose strap of her backpack. "I said, could you pretend to be my daddy? Just for one day." Ethan felt something tighten in his chest, an unfamiliar pressure, sharp and sudden. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily." "How old are you, Lily?" 7. "Almost 8. She said it like it mattered. Like it made her braver. People were watching now. Assistants pretending not to stare. A few executives slowing their pace. No one spoke. Even the lobby seemed to hold its breath. "Why me?" Ethan asked quietly. Lily hesitated, then answered with devastating honesty. "Because you look important. And dads are supposed to be important." The words hit him harder than any insult ever had. She rushed on, afraid the silence meant rejection. "My school is having a Father's Day thing tomorrow. Everyone's dad is coming. They get to sit together and eat donuts and play games." Her voice wobbled for the first time. "I don't have one." Ethan had heard those words before. "I don't have one," but never like this. Never from someone so small, carrying them so carefully. "My mom works a lot," Lily added quickly, as if defending her. "She's really tired. She tries. But she can't come tomorrow because she has to work. And I didn't want to be the only kid sitting by myself again." Again. That single word told him everything. Ethan glanced briefly at the receptionist, who looked away, eyes glassy. The guard stood stiff, suddenly unsure. The CEO of a global empire was kneeling on a marble floor, listening to a child explain loneliness. "I don't need you to stay," Lily said, her voice barely audible now. "Just for one day. You can leave after. I promise." Promises. Ethan almost laughed at the irony. His world ran on broken ones. He straightened slightly, hands resting on his knees. "Lily, do you know what I do?" She nodded seriously. "You're a boss." A few people stifled smiles. "And bosses are very busy," he said. "I know," she replied. "That's why I won't ask for more than one day." Her eyes never left his face. No desperation. No manipulation. Just a quiet, aching hope that refused to disappear. Ethan checked his watch out of habit. Meetings stacked back to back. A flight scheduled. A board waiting. One day. He had walked past far bigger things without stopping. But this felt like a line he couldn't step back over. "What would I have to do?" he asked. Lily's face lit up, careful but radiant. "Just sit next to me. And smile. And maybe clap if I do good. That's all?" She nodded. "That's all dads do." Ethan inhaled slowly. The air felt heavier than it had a moment ago. He stood, extending his hand to her. All right, Lily. I can do one day. For a second she didn't move, like she was afraid this was the part where it vanished. Then she took his hand with both of hers. Thank you, she whispered. I won't forget it. Neither would he. He already knew that, though he didn't yet understand why. As security escorted Lily toward the exit to wait for her mother, Ethan remained standing in the center of the lobby, surrounded by wealth and power that suddenly felt smaller. One day, he told himself. Just one day. But somewhere deep inside, something had already shifted, something that didn't know how to walk away. Because the next morning, Ethan Blackwood would sit in a tiny school gym and realize one day might cost him everything he thought he was. The CEO of a billion-dollar empire sat on a child-sized folding chair, and his knees didn't fit. Crayon dust clung to his tailored suit. And for the first time in years, Ethan Blackwood didn't care who was watching. The elementary school gym smelled like floor polish, sugar, and nervous excitement. Paper banners reading Happy Father's Day hung crookedly from the walls, some letters backwards, all of them sincere. A low hum of chatter filled the room, men clearing their throats, kids laughing too loudly, phones already raised to capture moments. Ethan stood near the entrance, suddenly unsure of himself. This room felt more intimidating than any boardroom he had ever walked into. He adjusted his cufflinks out of reflex, then stopped. The gesture felt ridiculous here. Around him were fathers in work boots, sneakers, faded jeans. Some looked exhausted. Some looked awkward. Some looked so proud it almost hurt to see. Then he heard her voice. Daddy! The word hit him like a physical force. Lily came running across the gym, pigtails bouncing, sneakers flashing lights with every step. She crashed into him without slowing down, wrapping her arms around his legs like she had known him forever. You came, she said, her face buried in his jacket. Of course I did. He replied automatically, then realized he meant it. She took his hand and pulled him toward a row of folding chairs. Sit here. This is our spot. Our. Ethan sat, his knees nearly level with his chest. The chair creaked ominously. Lily didn't notice. She was already arranging crayons, coloring sheets, and glue sticks like this was the most important meeting of his life. A teacher clapped her hands. All right, everyone. First activity, Father's Day cards. Lily pushed a piece of construction paper toward him. You can help me if you want. I'd be honored, Ethan said, surprising himself with the truth of it. They worked in silence for a moment. Lily colored carefully, tongue sticking out in concentration. Ethan attempted to fold paper hearts with hands more accustomed to signing contracts than holding glue sticks. A man beside them leaned over. First time? Ethan smiled politely. Is it that obvious? The man chuckled. You'll get the hang of it. When Lily finished her card, she slid it toward Ethan. On the front was a stick figure drawing of a tall man and a small girl holding hands beneath a sun. Above it, in uneven letters, were the words, My Dad. Ethan swallowed hard. You like it? Lily asked, suddenly uncertain. I love it, he said. His voice didn't crack, but it came close. The next activity was the dad race. A teacher explained the rules while Lily bounced in her seat. You have to run with me, she said. Everyone's doing it. Ethan looked down at his polished shoes, then around the gym. Men were stretching, laughing nervously. Children lined up, faces lit with excitement. When was the last time you ran? Lily asked. Longer ago than I'd like to admit. Good, she said. That means we'll win. They didn't. Ethan tripped over a cone halfway down the gym, barely managing not to fall flat on his face. The room erupted in laughter, kids shrieking, dads groaning, teachers clapping. Lily laughed the loudest. Are you okay? She asked, still giggling. I think my pride is injured, he said. She squeezed his hand. It's okay. You tried. No one had said that to him in years. They shared donuts afterward, powdered sugar dusting his suit beyond repair. Lily introduced him to everyone. This is my daddy. she said over and over, each time a little stronger. No one questioned it. During lunch, another parent sat across from Ethan. So, what do you do? Ethan glanced at Lily, who was busy peeling the wrapper off a juice box. He could have answered honestly. CEO. Investor. Power broker. Instead, he said, Today, I'm just her dad. The words settled into him, heavy, warm, and dangerous. At the end of the day, awards were handed out. Lily received one for Best Smile. She walked up, cheeks flushed, clutching her paper medal like it was gold. She ran back to Ethan and held it up. This is because of you. I think it was already there, he replied. As parents began to leave, Lily's excitement softened into something quieter. She held his hand tighter. Did I do good? She asked. You did amazing. She nodded, then asked the question he hadn't prepared for. Do daddies ever leave? She whispered. Even pretend ones? Ethan felt his chest tighten again, but this time, it hurt. Because in that moment, Ethan realized the hardest part wasn't pretending to be a father. It was deciding whether he could walk away when the day was over. Ethan Blackwood told himself it was over. One day. One promise kept. Then the backpack fell open, and everything he believed shattered. The car door shut softly, sealing the quiet around him. Lily sat in the back seat, humming to herself, her Father's Day medal hanging crookedly around her neck. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the dashboard. Ethan drove slower than usual. When they reached her apartment complex, Lily hopped out, waved enthusiastically, and disappeared up the stairs to where her mother was waiting. Ethan sat for a moment, watching the building. Peeling paint. Flickering hallway light. Not unsafe, but barely holding together. Just like something else he couldn't name yet. He reached for his briefcase. That's when Lily's backpack took over from the passenger seat. The zipper, already broken, gave way completely. Papers spilled onto the floor, colored drawings, worksheets, a folded envelope stamped final notice. Ethan froze. He hadn't meant to look. He truly hadn't. But the words were there, impossible to ignore. Past due. Eviction pending. His chest tightened. He knelt, gathering the papers carefully, as if the floor might break them. Among them was a crayon drawing. 2 stick figures. One tall. One small. Above it, written in shaky letters. Me and Daddy practice. Ethan closed his eyes. There was another paper, thin, official. A letter from the school counselor. We are concerned about Lily's housing stability and emotional well-being. The rest blurred. He sat there longer than he should have, the engine off, the world muted. This wasn't part of the deal. He had agreed to one day, not this weight, this knowledge. But knowledge, once seen, didn't disappear. The next morning, Ethan canceled his first 2 meetings. He told himself it was curiosity. Responsibility. Closure. That's what he told himself as he stood outside Lily's apartment door later that afternoon. He knocked. Footsteps approached. The door opened a crack, then wider. Maria looked exhausted. Her eyes widened when she saw him. You're... Ethan. Lily's. I'm sorry to show up like this, he said quickly. I just wanted to make sure Lily got home okay yesterday. Maria hesitated, then stepped aside. Please. The apartment was small. Clean, but stretched thin. A couch that doubled as a bed. A tiny table with 1 chair. Lily's drawings taped carefully to the wall, like they were holding the place together. Lily peeked out from behind her mother, gasped, and smiled. Daddy! The word landed differently now. Ethan smiled back, then looked at Maria. May we talk? Maria nodded. Lily was sent to her room, though she lingered at the doorway, watching them like she was afraid he might disappear. Maria folded her arms. I didn't know she was going to ask you. I swear. She's very determined. I know, Ethan said gently. This isn't about that. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I saw some papers in her bag. By accident. Maria's face drained of color. She sat down slowly. Then you know. She didn't cry right away. She stared at the floor like she'd already used up all her tears. Rent went up, she said quietly. I work nights. Sometimes doubles. I tried asking for help, but people get tired of hearing no. Ethan listened. No interruptions. No solutions yet. I didn't tell Lily, Maria continued. I didn't want her scared. She already worries too much. She worries she's alone, Ethan said. Maria nodded. She asks about her father sometimes. He left when I was pregnant. No calls. No cards. Nothing. The silence between them stretched. I never meant for her to get attached to you, Maria said softly. But when she came home yesterday, I haven't seen her smile like that in a long time. Ethan felt the familiar pressure in his chest again, stronger now. I don't want to hurt her, Maria added. She's already lost enough. Neither did he. He stood to leave, unsure what to say that wouldn't make things worse. Lily rushed out, holding her drawing. I made another one, she said, offering it to him. In case you forget me. Ethan knelt. I won't forget you. She studied his face carefully. Promise? He hesitated. Promises mattered now. I promise, he said. That night, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse, city lights glowing beneath him like a separate universe. He stared at the drawing on his desk. Me and Daddy. Practice. He picked up his phone and made a call he had never planned to make. Because the next decision Ethan Blackwood made wasn't about business. It was about whether a pretend father could choose to become real. The boardroom expected numbers. Ethan Blackwood brought them silence, and a decision that stunned everyone in the room. Effective immediately, he said. I'm stepping back. 20 executives sat frozen around the polished table. The city skyline gleamed behind Ethan like a familiar throne he was suddenly refusing to sit on. Postponed? One director asked carefully. No, Ethan replied. Reprioritized. They didn't understand. They couldn't. How could they, when this wasn't about profit or risk or leverage, but about a 7-year-old girl who believed in promises more than contracts? Ethan left the meeting early. For the first time in his career, no one tried to stop him. That afternoon, he stood outside Lily's school, hands in his coat pockets, feeling strangely nervous. Children spilled out the doors in a rush of noise and backpacks. Lily spotted him instantly. Daddy! She yelled, then froze. Her smile flickered, uncertainty creeping in. You came again. I told you I wouldn't forget you. She ran to him, gripping his hand like it was proof. From that day on, Ethan came back. Not every hour. Not every day. But consistently. Enough that Lily stopped asking if and started asking when. He helped with homework he barely remembered how to do. Learned how to braid hair through trial and error. Burn pancakes. Read bedtime stories in voices that made Lily laugh so hard she snorted. One night she fell asleep halfway through a story, her head resting on his shoulder. You stayed, she murmured, already drifting. Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was tight with something dangerously close to grief, for the life he'd never known he wanted. Maria watched it all carefully. Grateful. Guarded. One evening, after Lily was asleep, Maria poured 2 cups of tea and sat across from Ethan at the tiny table. This started as pretending, she said quietly. We both know that. Ethan nodded. I never meant to cross lines. But you did, she replied, not accusing. Honest. I need to know, Maria continued. What happens when this becomes inconvenient? When work calls? When life gets complicated? Ethan didn't answer right away. I won't let her be abandoned again, Maria said softly. I wouldn't ask you to, Ethan said. And I wouldn't stay if I couldn't mean it. The words surprised even him. Weeks passed. Lily stopped flinching when he left for meetings. Stopped packing her drawings. Just in case. She started planning things instead: school projects, weekends, birthdays. One afternoon, she asked, "Do you think dads are chosen?" "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. "Like some kids get born with them, and some kids get picked." Ethan swallowed. "I think the lucky ones get picked." She smiled and leaned against him. The legal meetings came quietly, carefully. No grand gestures. Just paperwork, counseling, time. Ethan sat through every session, every evaluation, every difficult question. Why now? Why her? Why him? Because one day had turned into something he could no longer walk away from. The courtroom was smaller than he expected. Lily sat between him and Maria, swinging her legs nervously. "Are you scared?" Ethan asked. She shook her head. "Only a little." "Me too," he admitted. She reached for his hand. "It's okay. You stayed." The judge reviewed the documents, then looked at Lily. "Do you understand what this means?" Lily nodded seriously. "It means I get to keep my daddy." Ethan closed his eyes for a brief second. The judge raised her pen and asked the final question that would decide everything. The courtroom was silent enough to hear Lily's heartbeat. Ethan Blackwood had faced hostile takeovers without fear, but nothing had ever terrified him like the question about to be asked. The judge adjusted her glasses and looked directly at him. "Mr. Blackwood," she said calmly, "do you understand that this is permanent?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "Yes, Your Honor." Permanent. The word felt heavy, but right. The judge turned to Lily. "And do you understand what adoption means?" Lily stood on her tiptoes so she could see better. "It means he won't leave," she said simply. "Even if he's busy." A soft murmur moved through the courtroom. The judge smiled. "That's a good understanding." She signed the papers with a steady hand, then slid them forward. "Then it is official." For a moment, nothing happened. Then Lily launched herself into Ethan's arms. "You stayed," she cried, laughter and tears tangled together. Ethan held her tightly, his composure finally breaking. He pressed his forehead to hers. "I always will." Outside the courthouse, sunlight spilled across the steps like a blessing. Maria stood beside them, tears running freely now that she no longer had to be strong. "Thank you," she whispered to Ethan. "For choosing her." "For choosing me," Ethan replied quietly. Life didn't become perfect overnight. Mornings were still rushed. Homework was still confusing. Ethan still traveled, but now he always came back. And Lily learned something powerful. Fathers weren't defined by blood or time. They were defined by staying. Years passed. Ethan still ran his company, but differently. He left earlier. He missed meetings for school plays. He knew the names of Lily's teachers, her friends, her fears. On the night before her 8th birthday, Lily sat beside him on the couch, legs tucked under her. "Do you remember when I asked you to pretend?" she asked. "I remember everything." "I was scared you'd say no," she admitted. Ethan smiled softly. "I was scared to say yes." She looked at him seriously. "I'm glad you did." He kissed her forehead. "So am I." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Ethan stood in the doorway of her room. Her drawings covered the walls, new ones now. Not practice anymore. Just me and Daddy. He realized then what that one day had cost him. His silence. His distance. His old life. And what it had given him in return. Purpose. Belonging. Love that didn't need pretending. Years later, at a school career day, Lily stood proudly beside Ethan as he spoke to her class. "This is my dad," she said. "He's a CEO." The kids murmured in awe. Ethan smiled and added, "But my most important job is being her dad." The teacher wiped her eyes. When they walked home, Lily slipped her hand into his. "You didn't leave," she said. "No," Ethan replied. "I chose you." She squeezed his hand tighter. Sometimes, the bravest thing a child can do is ask. And sometimes, the bravest thing an adult can do is stay. The end.